بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everyone to today's class. This class is for the first secondary grade in English subject. For the second semester, it is a revision from Unit 1 and Unit 2 from the book goal2. It is prepared by Abdullah Al-Hussein and presented by me, Mazen Al-Harbi. So welcome everyone. Our objectives in today's lesson is we're going to learn how to write an email, and also how to use the verb used to and would, and also we're going to talk about conditional sentences with might and could. So let us begin. So the first warm-up questions that we have is number one: what kind of communications are emails used for, and what do you think, are they suitable for personal or professional communication? And you are writing an email to a close friend, how would you begin and end? So let me answer for myself. I believe the kind of communications we use email for is for example, to apply for a job, or to check on someone that we know. So basically, this is mostly the kinds of communication that we use. And also, are they suitable for personal or professional communication? I believe, from my point of view, are for both professional actually and personal. And when you write an email to a close friend, how would you begin and end? Well, we'll begin, of course, with the greeting to hi, how are you? Those kinds of greeting, and we end with wishing them the best, of course. So let's check the answers here. So the kind of communication that email is used for, for example, homework, for fun, for surface, for sending media, etc. And they suitable for professional or personal communication. I believe I said yes, because as you see, personal, let's say for fun, for checking on someone, and professional maybe for a service or a homework or a task, for example, if the boss or the employer sends someone to his employees. So this is an example of a professional email, and now we're going to check how to actually we're going to write an email. So here are the instructions that we need to consider. You want to write an email to a friend. Decide who you're going to write to and what you are going to write about. And this is important. Complete the chart with your notes, then use your notes to write the email. Okay, so those instructions are very, very important if we want to write an email. Okay, so let's see this chart. So this is how we begin, and how this is basically the most important parts of an email if you want to write any. Okay, so we start with greeting. So for example, this one. Okay, we can greet someone by saying hi. Okay, hi, or we can say hello, or we can say, okay, the most commonly used is dear. Okay, or how are you? Sorry, we can say how are you. So those are examples of greetings, and when can we use them? Also here we have a opening words like let's say checking on someone, what's going on with you, how is it going, and that sort of thing. So let's say how is it? How is it going? This is for example, okay? And the reasons, well, you can list as many reasons as you can in the email, but just as an example, we can say, let's say just to say hello to a friend and see how, or checking on how he is doing, okay? Let's say the reason is saying hello. Saying hello to a friend and checking on how he is doing. Okay, and also we regarding writing this email, or this is obviously for the the previous one, my reason for writing this email. Or we move to the next one, closing words. As we say, we can wish him the best. Okay, for example, best regards, take care of yourself, and that sort of closing words. So let's say take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And the last one, attached. If we add something to the email, whether it's a photo or a video file or anything, let's say a photo of us together. This is why I attached, for example, a photo of us together. So this is basically how the email would look like. The greetings, the opening words, and the reasons, saying hello to a friend, checking on how he's doing, and the closing word like take care of yourself, and attached document like we said, a photo, for example. So now we're going to talk about form, meaning, and function on using the simple past with used to. So we actually used to for past states, habits, and situations that are no longer true. For example, Morse, the inventor of the telegraph system, used to be a professor at New York University, which he is not now. Now he is not a professor, so this is in the past. Okay, he used to be a professor, but not now. The same goes for the second one. He used to teach arts and design, which he is not now. So this is basically the usage, or when can we use used to, just to talk about some facts or some habits, some instances that happens in the past and for the meantime are no longer existed or no longer true. Also here, people used to communicate by telegraph. Telegraph companies used to dispatch telegraph by train across the United States. And here is something actually we should consider, which is the verb that we use after used to, it comes in its base form. So we don't actually need to try to change it into that. For example, be, teach, communicate, and dispatch. And also, how to make a questions regarding, or a yes or no question to be specific regarding used to. We can simply just put did at the beginning of the question, and then we use used to, we change it into its base form or in the present form and became used. It became like this. So for example, did you used to have a blue car? Did you used to have a blue car? Here, as you can see, used to is actually in the present form. Why didn't we change it into the past? Because we already have a question at the beginning of the question in the past form, which is did. So we're going to do it in all questions. If we had did or any verb in the past that precedes the used to, then we make it in its present form. So Did you used to have a blue car? Yes, I did. I sold it 3 years ago. I sold it 3 years ago. And here, if you notice, we can change all the verb in the past. It's okay. And also here the same example or the similar example. Did they used to play football every week? No, they did not. They used to play tennis. Okay, so this is an example on how can we make yes or no questions with using used to, and also how to answer them. Now we'll go to further explanation. We can also use would in the place of used to for bad habits, but we cannot use would for bad states. For example, in ancient times, people would shout messages to the next tower in order to pass on information through the kingdom. So this we use now would in the place of used to only for bad habits. Okay, the habits that we used to do it, but we cannot use it for bad states, instances. For example, this one, people used to have very powerful voices in those days. So we cannot say people would have very powerful voices because this is a state. We're talking about some facts that happened before. So yes, we can use would instead of used to in habits, but not for state. Okay. So now we're going to use another kind of questions which are the information questions with used to, and here as you can see we can add the question tool before did as we did that we use in the yes or no question. For example, why did people, and here used to the same, we don't change it, we write it like this in the present form. So the question would be, why did people used to shout from signal tower? Okay, we can, and the answer obviously, since we use did, will be the past form, so, or the simple past tense. So for example, they wanted to pass on messages. Another question here we have, what did you used to do when you were young? I used to ride my bike at the park. So this is also an example on how to use information questions with used to. Now we move to another exercise, which is reading the answers and try to write the question. So here the answer said, Fahad used to check his email all the time, even when he was on vacation. This is obviously a question looking for information, because it's not the question that we write is not a yes or no question, because it didn't start with yes, and unlike this one started with yes, so we can say yes, people used to leave messages on telephone answering machines. So let's check the answers here. Here we should say what or when did Fahad used to check his email all the time? When did Fahad used to check his email? And we can answer by saying Fahad used to check his email maybe all the time, even when he was on vacation. And here, since the answer started with yes, then it's a yes or no question. And as you remember that we used did in the beginning of any used to yes and no question, we can say that did people used to leave messages on telephone? Did people used to leave messages on telephone answering machines? So now we're going to move to the if conditional. And if you remember in the last lesson, we did talk about when do we use if clauses. Let's remind ourselves again. We use the conditional sentences to talk about imaginary or hypothetical situations in the present. And we use the simple past in the if clause, and would is often used in the main clause. Okay? So this is basically when can we use if clause. So for example, in the main if clause, this is what we mean by the if clause, the one before the comma. Okay, and the main clause is what comes after it. Okay, and according to the rule, we can use would in the main clause and if in the that tense in the if clause. Okay, and now we're going to learn what are the long forms and the short forms in if the conditional sentences. We can say that, for example, have a look at this one. If I studied, I would pass the exam. This is the long form. And here in the short form, if I studied, I'd pass the exam. What actually changed here is would. We change it to a comma and D. Also here, if I studied, I would not fail the exam. If I studied, I would not fail the exam. The short form is, if I studied, I wouldn't fail the exam. What we actually changed here is we shortened this one and we gathered together would and not, and we excluded the verb all and we added comma instead. The last example we have actually this last example two shorted form. Let's see. If I did not study, I would fail the exam. And the shorted form are if I didn't study, I'd fail the exam. If you notice, here we gathered the word together, did and not, and we actually excluded the verb all and added comma instead. And as well as we here we remove the word would and add a comma and the verb be, or the letter B. So now look at this picture and let's try to make sentences using if clause. So here we have a picture of a car, and obviously a piker is accidentally crashed or run into this car. So let's try to make a sentence out of this. So according to the previous rule, we said that in the if clause we use the past tense and would in the main clause. So the sentence will be like this: if I drove slowly, if I drove slowly, I would avoid the accident. If I drove slowly, I would avoid the accident. If I drove slowly, I would avoid the accident. Okay, so this is the example. If I drove slowly, I would avoid the accident. So this is an example on how can we make a sentence with using if clause. Again, we're going to do this one. As you can see here, the number of children are playing, and what happens next that they are win a title or a cup. So we can say, if we played, we can say that if we played well, we would win. If we played well, we would win. Okay, so the first clause we use the past tense, and the second or the main clause we use the would. The same goes for here. So someone, a boy slept early, he wake up early and became active or energetic. So we can say, if I let's say if he slept early, he would wake up early. He would wake up early. So this is also an example on how to use if clauses. So now we reach at the end of our lesson. We learn how to write an email and how to use to and would, and the usage also of conditional sentences with might and could. So thank you very much for watching. Here are the references that